Hello and welcome back to the NASJE podcast. My name is Aaron Burdick and I will be your host for today's podcast. We have an exciting one here for you today. We have some great new members of NASJE who are really excited and looking forward to conference next month at the time of the recording of this webinar in Phoenix, Arizona. We have Amanda and Sarah. Amanda, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone today?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Angola. I am new to NASJE, as Aaron was just saying. I'm also new to judicial education. I am the Associate Deputy Director of the Learning and Development Unit at the Illinois Judicial College.
Yes, and I also have the privilege of working with Amanda. So thank you so much for agreeing to join us on the podcast here today. And our other guest is Sarah. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Gilkinson. I work for the Rhode Island Judiciary, specifically the Supreme Court, and I oversee the diversity office. I've been working there for almost 2 years now, and I'm also new to NASJA. I went to a lot of good conferences in the last few years with the National Center for State Courts, and I was nudged to join. And so I'm very excited to be here and be part of this podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so we always like to start off our conversations with our guests, getting to know them a little bit on a more personal level. And regardless of if you're a new member to NASJA or judicial education, or you've been around the block for a while and are an experienced educator, we always like to ask, what do you prefer, coffee or tea? And then my podcast co-host today is not here today, Amber Myers, but she always likes to know what your order is as well, because she's always open to trying new things. So Sarah, what do you prefer, coffee or tea?
I love that you're starting with me because I'm going to have to go with a handy dandy neither. I'm not a coffee or a tea person, but I will give an alternative beverage. I probably would choose water. I know that's very simple. And if I have to get a little more eccentric, I'm going to go hot chocolate. I have a sweet tooth. I like it with different things in it. Like Dunkin' Donuts has a really good Oreo hot chocolate or salted caramel. Love them both, but coffee and tea, not for me.
No, that's okay. That's always good. So let me ask you a follow-up to that. Do you add any flavoring to your waters, or are you just normal, good old-fashioned water?
I like it the good old fashioned way. If I really had to have it a preferred way, I would just go room temperature, straight up. That's the water I'm gonna drink.
Awesome. Well, good. Thank you so much for sharing. And Amanda, what do you prefer, coffee or tea?
I do prefer coffee, and I have 1 cup a day. I'm just a 1 cup a dayer. And it's pretty simple. I just put oat milk in mine. I don't even add sugar or anything. But if I'm going to a coffee shop, I'll probably get a mocha because that is
Mm,
sort of be my preferred drink.
yes,
So
I
yeah.
can I can agree with that. I am the same way. If I have more than 1 cup of coffee, I get really jittery. I've never, no matter how long I've drank coffee, I've never been able to get over that hump. So I am the same way. I am one a day, and we're actually getting ready to head into my mocha season. So as we start nearing like Thanksgiving, Halloween, when we're getting a little bit cooler weather here in Illinois, I like to go to the mochas. So that's always nice to hear someone else likes those as well. So thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Um, Another thing we always like to kind of encourage with judicial education is our downtime. What do we do to kind of get that R&R? And one of the things that a lot of us love to do is travel. And so, Amanda, what do you feel like your ideal vacation destination is? Are you more of a beach goer, or do you like the mountains, or do you have another preference that you'd like to take your vacations around?
Yeah, this is such a tough question for me because I mean, I love the beach and the mountains, and I've had some incredible mountain vacations in Germany and Colorado and even on the East Coast, with the Appalachian Mountains and everything. I do have 2 kids, and I think they probably prefer the beach, so we tend to do probably beach vacations more often, which I don't mind either because they're gorgeous, they're relaxing. I love the water, so I could really go either way. They're both really amazing destinations.
Awesome. Well, that's always good. We always like to hear that. And I'm kind of the same way. I only have one kid right now, just one son, and he's a baby still, so he doesn't have much much of a say-so in necessarily where we go, but my wife and I are the polar opposites. I like, the warm beaches, and she likes the cold and mountains, and so it's always unique how we go back and forth with our vacations. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you prefer for your vacation destination?
Well, Rhode Island is the ocean state. However, I feel like because there's so much ocean around me, I don't vacation around beaches very often. I think for me, it's more so about who I'm with, less than where I'm at. I am a big board gamer. So if I can
Mm.
go with my brothers and my parents, doesn't matter where we are, as long as we have like a nice venue where we can sit down and get into some Settlers of Catan or some Scrabble. That's what's fun for me. And I mean, I've done that at both beaches and mountains, but it's more about who I'm with.
My brother-in-law loves that game as well, so that's always something our family likes to get around the holidays. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, with vacations and sometimes just with our everyday lives, especially Amanda, with you having kids as well, we always are taking photos on our phones. Though it's kind of the main thing that we do, whether it's during our judicial college events, we're capturing our workshops and our programs being offered. But what is your favorite phone, or sorry, your favorite picture that you have on your phone from the last month?
Oh, I'm just looking right now at my phone, and these pictures are not good. It's like screenshots from classes I'm taking and like my driver's license. Like there's nothing fun and exciting here. Although here's one of my son. You can kind of see him. He's in driver's ed right now. So it's a picture of him we're in the garage, and it's sort of like a very reflective picture of him in the driver's seat. Maybe that's the best one from the last couple of weeks.
Good, awesome, awesome. No, that's always good. That's a exciting time in his life and probably a scary time in your life. So
You're
we can
right.
all understand what you're going through. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yes,
Sarah,
sir.
what about you?
I have a top two. So, my older brother just had a baby in March, and so I've
Oh,
been getting an influx of pictures of my little nephew. He's very, very cute. He has beautiful blue eyes. We're wondering if they're going to stay or if they're going to change. So maybe a picture of him, and if not him, in good old working fashion, I have high school interns this summer and having a great time with the interns. So I have several pictures of my interns just being super silly. We've done a lot of great things, and it's probably my picture of me on the bus with them, going on the public bus to visit our law school in Rhode Island because we only have one, and a lot of them don't take the public bus very often. And I put them on there, and we just had a great time on our little 45 commute down by the water, and it was just super fun. So probably my favorite
awesome.
picture.
Well, that's exciting. That's always good. When I was a director of probation before I became in the judicial education space full time, I would always take on interns as well. And anytime you can get people who are brand new, straight in school still, it really is exciting and kind of gives you a new feeling to life too when you see how happy and excited they are to show up at their internship. So thank you so much for sharing that. One thing that we always like to differ is some of us are really big readers in judicial education, and others are moviegoers. So we always like to ask, what is a book that you've read recently or a movie that you saw that you would really recommend other judicial educators check out? Sarah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I actually saw a movie last night.
Oh,
I saw
nice.
the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap. That was really good. But for the sake of this podcast, I'll also give some reading to do. This morning, I was sent a brand new article from the Washington Post, and it's titled "Does DEI Training Discriminate Against White People? Courts Will Decide." I do not want to spoil it for anyone, but I'm happy to send a link to the article, and you guys can share it. And if anyone wants to reach out to me and discuss what they think, I'd love to chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing that. Amanda, what about you?
Yeah, this is such a good question. I was trying to think what should I suggest? I think right now, just given that you mentioned a book, a book that I'm currently reading that I'm really enjoying is called The Leadership Challenge. And it's just a fantastic sort of overview about it's really research based and talks about ways that leaders do their work better when it comes to, talking about vision, purpose, mission, listening critically, getting buy-in from, those you work with. So it really has some very practical tips and just things to consider as a leader in an organization. And I would definitely recommend this book.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to have our listeners check those out. I know that that's a really beneficial book that I think a lot of managers can benefit from reading and understanding. So I definitely would encourage any members that you're wanting to know where to access that book. If you would like a link, we'd be happy to provide that as well in the podcast. So thank you so much for sharing that. So as we kind of tail in, you've kind of mentioned it a little bit during your introductions, but how long have each of you been in either the education space or judicial education specifically? Amanda, would you like to go first?
Sure. I've been in the education space for, probably over 10 years. I Prior to joining the Illinois Judicial College, I worked as a clinical professor and a director of a training program for master's in social work students. So teaching classes and doing program, leadership is something that I've done for a while. But I am very new to the judicial space, college space, and I've only been in my role for 2 months, actually. So I'm learning so much, and I see a lot of overlap, with aspects of social work education and judicial education, which is really interesting and something I'd be happy to talk more about. But also it's really fun to be doing something really different with a different group. So
I know from, on behalf of the Judicial College Division here in Illinois, we are very thankful and excited to see, ways that we can learn from you and grow. And we're excited to have you as a part of our team. So thank you so much for sharing your background. And I know that NASJE is super happy to have you as a member as well. Sarah,
thank you.
how long have you been in education or judicial education?
Yeah. So spoiler alert, I am in the under 30 club. I haven't met many folks in recent months as I've been interacting with other states that are under 30 as well. So I feel privileged to be the certified baby. But I've been in the higher education space before this for about 5 years, maybe 3 years, plus the 2 years that I've been now working for the courts. In terms of judicial education, yeah, as soon as I started 2 years ago, they already had me doing trainings and working with our judicial
Awesome.
educator in that department. So I've been getting my feet wet, and I'm just hitting my groove now. But I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to getting more resources now that I'm affiliated with NASJE officially,
Mhm.
and just expanding our training offerings. So super excited.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand. I know that NASJA, when you go to conference, that there is a good mix of people. Some that are exactly like both of you, where they're just getting in the judicial education space, and others that are brand new to the field, right out of college in that under 30 club as well. So we have a very good mix, and I know that one thing that we always like to promote is just take advantage of these opportunities when you go to conference, network as much as you can. We'll dive into in a different podcast, kind of heading into conference, the agenda and things that we're looking forward to. But we really offer a lot of good networking opportunities and ways for you to meet other members. So I would highly encourage both of you as new to being NASJA that you take advantage of those opportunities. With conference heading in, we kind of want to tie this podcast a little bit to conference and your experiences kind of heading into it. So one thing we always like to learn from new members is what gave you the motivation or the connection to want to join NASJA. Amanda, would you like to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I was really encouraged to join and participate from my colleagues at work. I think many of them are members and have been very involved in the organization for a while. But I guess thinking about ways to expand my knowledge and connections, as you were mentioning, that going to the conference is a really great way to start to meet others and learn more about some of the ways that judicial education kind of focuses their work. I think that the opportunity to meet more people is really key. And I've been told that the members are very collaborative, love to share, and that I know the spirit in our organization is also one of collaboration. So I'm looking forward to just deepening my knowledge even greater and building on those relationships with other people. So
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Amanda. And I know that Illinois is really trying to promote best practices, and we're trying to get out there and get involved more and collaborate as much as we can. So I know that both from myself and Amanda's perspective, we're very thankful to have leadership that would agree with that. Sarah, what about yourself? What made you decide to join NASJE, or what was your connection? How did you find NASJE?
Yeah, I think as I alluded to a little bit earlier, I've had the privilege to attend a good amount of conferences recently.
Mhm.
And just in April and May, I was able to go to the second national convening of the EI professionals of the courts, as well as the Blueprint for Racial Justice workshop and the National Consortium on Racial and Ethnic Fairness in the Courts annual conference as well. And it
Wow.
just felt like at each conference, I know at each conference, people were chirping in my ear, Sarah, you're so animated, you're so excited. I really think that NASJE would be a great resource for you. And of course, the people that were telling me this were all members of NASJE from other states.
Hmm.
And I ended up taking a liking to a lot of them. And I was like, this is clearly a community I want to be affiliated with because I've liked all these individuals and I don't want the impact that we're making in Rhode Island to stop here at this conference. I want to continue to be in fellowship and conversation with these folks so that we can expand our offerings and make sure that we're really implementing best practices. And so yeah, third conference was the charm. I went immediately back to my state court administrator and said, hey, I really would like to join this. And fortunately, we have a really, really supportive administrator. And she said, absolutely, let's make it happen. And I was registered for the
So,
conference as well as officially registered as a member within like a week after that. So super exciting.
well, that's great news. That's always exciting to hear, and I would agree. I think you're in a very good position to have leadership that's willing to send you to these different conferences, either in Rhode Island or around the country. And that's a good way to help you in your career have a better understanding of ways that you can bring that information back to Rhode Island and help create your education program. So I think that's a great thing that they're doing. And I know from NASJA and the other members, we're looking forward to getting to meet you more and have a better understanding of, what Rhode Island is looking for and find ways that we can collaborate. So with you both being new to NASJA, we really want to understand from a new member's perspective, what are you wanting to take away from conference in Arizona? Sarah, would you like to go first?
Yeah. I think one thing is I want to network with more folks.
Mhm.
It was limited in how many I met because the other conferences that I went to were not, NASJA
Mhm.
affiliated. So meeting other folks that I might not have met yet to, like you said, figure out how we can collaborate and see what, you guys can offer Rhode Island as a whole. But I also think, and this is just a little plug for Rhode Island, we're hosting the National Consortium on Racial and Ethnic Fairness of the Courts conference next year in Rhode Island. And so there's a huge education component of that conference. We're
Mhm.
planning the programming right now for it. And I said, what better way for me to figure out, what some of the innovative programming can look like at,
Mhm.
a conference geared towards it. So I'm hoping by being there, I can kind of, wear two hats where I'm taking things in for myself, just to enjoy it. But then also, what can I take back and write notes on? So that way, when, we're planning these programs and the educational component, I can maybe adopt some ideas and make sure that we have a great conference in Rhode Island.
Mhm. Well, that's awesome. I really feel like this conference specifically in Arizona is going to be able to highlight a lot of what you're looking for. There's a lot of breakout sessions surrounding technology and AI. So there's going to be a lot that you can take away and hopefully bring back to Rhode Island to start applying. So that's a very, very exciting news. So thank you so much for sharing. Amanda, what about yourself? What are you most looking forward to or major takeaways you'd like to take from conference?
yeah, looking at the agenda, I'm so interested in the multiple topics on DEI. That's something that I have a personal and professional interest in. I'm kind of in the final stretch of my doctorate, which focuses on social justice focused education and leadership and clinical practice. And so, learning about those things with sort of a judicial bend is
Mhm.
something that I'm really fascinated by and see a lot of connections to. Also, I really love that there's like some mental health aspects to this. Like there's one on motivational interviewing, and that's something that I'm more accustomed to in my previous life. So I'm really interested in these intersections, and I can't wait to hear more and share and just see how, yeah, like a slightly different lens, like what that does to the content and how people sort of use that. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And also the tribal courts. I that is something I have no experience with, and I'm really interested to learn more about that. I'm very excited about that session too.
I would agree with that, Amanda. That's something here in Illinois we don't have, so that's something I am not as experienced with as well. So I'm really looking forward to learning that side of the judicial system and kind of what that looks like for Arizona specifically. And one thing I highly encourage both of you to attend is the experiential learning opportunity surrounding that topic. And so that will be a really good course. Every conference that NASJE provides, we offer some sort of experiential learning opportunity. And these are by far the most attended and really good takeaway classes that you can learn from. So I really encourage both of you to check that out as well. And I know on behalf of the NASJE members, we're rooting for you for your doctorate as you enter those final stages. So there's always a wealth of other members who have gone through the same thing that you did, writing your doctorate. So there's always good people to get feedback and advice from, and kind of some encouraging members to help, get you to the finish line. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing.
Thanks.
One, oh yeah. I always like just personally, I'm really big on trying to look at ways that I can grow year to year on things, both personally and professionally. I always like to hear what other people are working towards in 2024. I know we are, at the very tail end of that. We're in August, we're in the last quarter. But Sarah, what are you working towards in 2024 as either personal growth or professional growth? What are some things that you're striving for?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just I'm working on, really growing my network even more and making sure that specifically in the Rhode Island courts, we're finding ways to just continue to instill public trust. Um, I'm very pleased with how our internship program has grown this summer. We only started it last year. And so I'm excited to be working towards, expanding that even further. And then also just taking a comprehensive look at our other programs that we have and figuring out, what are some of the ways we can enhance these and make sure that they're up to date on what's best for the needs of our community. And then, like I said, this conference, I'm super excited about it that we're planning it. So I've been using a lot of my time just to like meet other folks and figure out who our like our A-list lineup's going to be for this conference. And that's
Mhm.
been super fun for me. And I think like another goal I have now is just getting to know other NASJE members to see like what other resources are out there. Who else can I tap into? How can we expand the network and just make sure that we're positioned the best in Rhode Island to do what's best in the court? And as a DEI educator myself, just like how can we be more equitable and like what does that look like, especially knowing the state of the world right now? How can I lean on other folks, especially because DEI work can be a little bit isolating, and figure out ways that we can just keep leaning on each other, connecting, and making sure we're making an impact that's going to honestly ultimately make things better in Rhode Island and globally. So
No, those are fantastic goals, and that's really exciting to hear. I know that here in Illinois, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer who is doing a lot of great work here in Illinois. So I definitely feel like I should share her contact with you because I feel like that would be a good resource for both of you to collaborate on like-minded ideas and things that you can develop together potentially. I do have to ask one thing, and I know probably a lot of our podcast members are wanting to know. You are coming from Rhode Island to Phoenix, Arizona for conference. How long is your plane ride going to be?
So I'm a little spoiled. I like to fly out of our tiny little airport that's in Rhode Island, which makes it a little bit inconvenient. Just because if I don't fly out of there, I have to fly out of Boston. And I looked, there's not a direct flight out of Boston anyway, so I might as well be spoiled and fly out of Providence, which means I do have a layover.
Mhm.
So it's probably going to be like maybe like a 3 hour flight. Then I'll have a good little layover, and then I'll probably have another 3 to 4 hours, depending on where I do layover. So
Well,
a little bit of a trip.
that is dedication. So we are definitely very happy and excited to have you join us at conference. One thing too that I wanted to mention with NASJE is that we actually have international members as well. We have members from different islands in the Caribbean that will sometimes come to conference. I met some of those individuals last year. We have members as a part of the Education and Curriculum Committee, which I am co-chair of, that are from outside of the US, the main states. And so we definitely are really growing internationally as well. And we have a lot of exciting things. So you can get a really good perspective, almost worldwide, of what's going on in judicial education. So thank you so much for sharing that. Amanda, what about you? What are some of your goals that you're trying to achieve as we head into the last quarter of 2024?
Yeah, being new in my role, I have a number of goals. We have a large conference that we're putting on in February 2026, and we're starting that planning now. Being the lead for that, I have a lot to learn in terms of the process, but also, my goal is to make it an incredible
Mhm.
conference, and it's been incredible for years. So it's sort of a tall order, to kind of keep that going and maybe make it even better. So that's a goal of mine. Also, obviously, just learning in general, learning about the work that I'm doing, that we're doing, is important to me so that I can offer my best to the
Mhm.
position. And then personally, I, like you, Aaron, I really love learning and growing. And so, sometimes I don't know where it leads me, but it's an important, process for me to continuously read and talk to people and engage in material. So that's something that I will obviously keep doing as well.
No, that's always exciting. I know one thing that Joseph Sawyer, which a lot of NASJE members know who that is, he is really big on advocating that, we are always learning. We're never going to stop learning things. And it's something that we have to find ways to embrace and find our own excitement with learning. We are so used to providing these education courses or workshops, but sometimes we forget about our own learning. And so we need to kind of keep ourselves motivated as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we always like to end our podcast by just identifying what is some of the best advice that you have received. Amanda, what's something that you would like to inform members of or regarding best advice?
Yeah, I think, the first thing that comes to mind in terms of best advice would be taking care of yourself and each other. So sort of having a value around, like self-care, but also community care. And, as we kind of care for those that we work with, the public that we serve, thinking about that, like the whole person or the whole
Mhm.
community, and what are those needs, and being sure to address those in a way that promotes wellness versus harm, I think would be what comes to mind first for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And Sarah, what about you?
I think it's probably been I don't remember who said this to me, but they said in a world full of echoes, authenticity resonates the loudest.
Mm.
And I think like I'm sure we've all seen it in different roles that we've held and different interactions that we've had, that sometimes everyone's doing the same thing, over and over again. And like it's because that way might work, but that doesn't mean it's the most efficient. And that doesn't mean that there's not another way to do things. And so like, being as young as I am and as new in my role as I am, I'm just kind of remembering to make sure I don't lose sight of who I am and what I believe in,
Mhm.
and making sure that, respectfully, I have conversations with people that are just like, what are other ways we can look at this to make sure that it's actually serving its purpose and doing it in a way that is equitable and that is going to be helpful to all parties involved. So I've been looking at that. It's always stuck with me. And like, hopefully that's a cool little tidbit people can remember as they go forward and continue being change agents as well.
Yeah, I really like that. So I think that's something I'm gonna have to start using. I know that I really like to use quotes during presentations, and I like to find ways to inspire my learners when I'm providing courses. So that is a really good takeaway that I'm gonna have to find a way to start using something like that. So one thing that's special with this podcast is because both of our guests are new members, we're actually going to do a follow-up podcast to this after conference to see what their takeaways were and why other members who are considering going to conference should go in the future. So Amanda, Sarah, thank you both for joining us here today. We are very grateful for you participating. And I know at conference, both myself as well as my co-host Amber are really excited to get to meet you and hopefully share NASJE with you and see the benefits of why you should continue to go into the future. So for our listeners, thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.